John Boyega says he's done with Star Wars, so what does that mean for those people who hope to see Finn become a Jedi after The Force Awakens teased us with his potential?
Solo, we'll figure it out. We'll use the Force.
What's up, Star Wars fans? My name is Prince and I'm an urban acolyte. Over the weekend, John Boyega sent Star Wars fans into an uproar when he said he was done playing his character Finn in Star Wars. I've had a few people asking me to comment about it on some of my videos, and a few of you sent me the story to get my take on it. I mean, honestly, this is not a big deal at all. Right now, Star Wars fans are so starved for information about anything related to Star Wars that even some legitimate media outlets will push literally any story, including nonsense about the sequel saga getting a reboot using plot points that don't even make sense within the established story. But that's a topic for a different video. I want to tell y'all why this is not a big deal at all, but first let me set the context for the folks who haven't heard the news. Currently, John Boyega is working on the BBC Steve McQueen series Small Axe and a feature film called Naked Singularity. He posted a picture to Instagram saying that he's back on set, which received a comment from user Tech Steve saying, "Force Finn in action with green lightsaber dressed in black is all I want from the next Star Wars film." Hey man, I'm not going to even lie. I would like to see Finn wielding a green lightsaber in a future Star Wars film too, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. So JB's response was, "No thank you, I've moved on." This earned a response from Sam Kim, who replied, "Really got those Disney bucks and dipped." Now JB's reply was, "Nope, not into playing one role for too long. I have more to offer than that, that's all." Now, this story is running on multiple media outlets and blog sites today. JB actually posted the story running on Variety, and he tweeted, "Isn't that what people do when a role is done? Or it's really not that deep." And he's right, it's not deep at all. And people are making a bigger story out of this than it really ought to be. Now, I know that I have a fan club out there who wants to challenge me on basically everything I say. So I'm going to address you guys before you comment. Yes, I am aware that John Boyega has made it known that he didn't agree with how the movies turned out. But how much of people interpreted his comments based on their own personal feelings about the sequel saga? I mean, if there's one thing a lot of Star Wars fans are good at doing, it's twisting people's words to fit their own personal agendas. I mean, we have a bunch of YouTube channels who formed a club for people who got their feelings hurt by Pablo Hidalgo, Rian Johnson, and The Last Jedi. And they run around calling themselves the Fandom Menace because they needed a support group to vent their feelings when they found out that Star Wars isn't what they thought it was. I want you guys, when you have a chance, to go back and look at the video I did about 3 years ago on Finn's lightsaber scenes being cut from the cinematic version of The Force Awakens. Jason Ward, someone with actual connections to people on sets at Pinewood Studios and sources within Lucasfilm, you know, unlike Randy and his lame Dr. Doom cosplay. Well, he posted a full rundown about an earlier version of The Force Awakens where Finn was using the Skywalker lightsaber for basically half the film. Unlike the version we saw where he was running around scared, this version of Finn actually appeared to be the hero who would go on to help rebuild the Jedi Order. Now, J.J. Abrams said that he got rid of that version of the character because the chemistry between Rey and Finn was not what he wanted. Now that we've had the full story told, my personal feelings are that this story was supposed to center around Rey Skywalker and Ben Solo. Pablo Hidalgo has since made it known that the plan was always for Rey to become a Skywalker by the end of the trilogy. George Lucas possibly planned for his character Kira, who became Rey, to end up somehow being a surrogate daughter to Luke Skywalker, although Lucas never wanted Luke to ever marry or have children of his own, unlike the story told in the expanded universe. Now, I reached this bit of insight heading into The Last Jedi, and those of you who have been part of Acolyte Squad from the beginning know that I kept saying, hey, we want to see Finn do some Jedi stuff, but these movies are going to do too much if we get a Rey story, a Kylo Ren story, a story about the Resistance versus the First Order, and a Finn story. Let's wrap up this stuff with Rey, Ben Solo, and the First Order in these movies so that we can get something where Finn has his own story. So I still hold that Finn is getting his own story. It just won't be a movie with John Boyega playing the part anytime soon. And I'm okay with that, because I've been telling everyone that this is what's going to happen for the last 3 years. There's also that thing Kathleen Kennedy said 3 years ago about fans getting stories about Rey, Finn, and Poe Dameron for the next 10 to 15 years. Did y'all forget? Or was all this talk about Kathleen Kennedy getting fired from people who don't know anything about the inner workings at Lucasfilm making everyone forget? There's already at least one story about Rey, Finn, and Poe coming in September relating to events not seen on screen in The Rise of Skywalker. This is actually old news, and I think the situation with the pandemic delayed that comic book, which I think was originally supposed to hit stands in June or July. Now I cannot confirm this, but Jason Fry, who wrote The Last Jedi novelization and the heir to the Empire series about Zer Leonis, is writing a novel that will continue Finn's story. I'm not going to go the Doomcock route and call this a rumor from an unconfirmed source. Jason posted this to his Twitter account back in November, but he later removed the tweet because it basically confirmed Finn being force sensitive in The Rise of Skywalker, which was a huge spoiler at that time.
Really, it was like
An instinct. A feeling.
a feeling.
A force.
Now, whether or not the book still happens, that's not up to me. This is like when my bro Geekdom says anything about the return of Dragon Ball Super. The information is there, but things can happen behind the scenes to change those plans. As for John Boyega returning to the role, look y'all, JB was a huge Star Wars fan heading into these movies. Yes, he voiced displeasure with the direction of the movie, going back to the thing I said about Finn having lightsaber scenes cut and his character basically being rewritten in The Force Awakens. You guys have no idea how many takes of a scene an actor might film and how many times the script might be changed on the fly. Think about the kiss between Ben Solo and Rey. That scene was shot multiple times with a kiss and without a kiss. An actor can spend months on a set making a movie and have basically no idea what the final product will be until they see it at the opening premiere. If JB says, "I didn't like the movie," a bunch of people who also did not like the movie will take his words and use it as some kind of confirmation of how they feel. But the truth is, he has knowledge of this movie that none of us have, because he went through the experience of telling the story different ways and then having to see how the director chose to fit all of the pieces together for the finished product. What I'm about to say goes beyond Star Wars, but sometimes actors play in big projects so that it allows them to work on passion projects. Look at Chris Evans, who says he loved playing Captain America, but he also makes it sound like he couldn't wait to be done with the MCU. If you look at the movies Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth are doing outside of the MCU, they really aren't big blockbuster movies. Chris Hemsworth is in 2 Netflix movies that have been killing it while the world is on lockdown. Well, everyone except folks in the US, which might account for why the numbers keep climbing over there. But Chris Evans is doing a lot of these small independent movies where he really gets to work on his craft of being an actor. The problem with big studio movies is all the stuff that goes along with that big paycheck, which is something Oscar Isaac said about not returning to Star Wars. That big paycheck is nice, but there's a lot of restrictions that go along with that big paycheck. My big cuzzo Ben Ramsey talks about this all the time. Now, if you don't know who Ben is, he directed Blood and Bone and Love and a Bullet. He was a production assistant on Silence of the Lambs, and he wrote the big hit. Now, if you're a Dragon Ball geek, then you recognize him as the person who allegedly ruined the Dragon Ball live action movie. I knew Ben before I knew he had any connection to that movie, but Ben learned a lesson from that Dragon Ball project that he passes on to anyone wanting to work in the film industry. When you work on a big studio project, they call all of the shots. You have very little creative control. And if you want your story told the way you envision it, you need to do it all on your own. Now, what does this have to do with JB? Well, John Boyega is starting his own production studio to use his platform in order to tell stories coming out of Nigeria. And that's where his family originates, if you didn't know. It might be hard for some people to understand this, but there are other stories out there to be told besides Star Wars stories. Now, JB and Daisy Ridley came into The Force Awakens as unknowns, and 7 years later, they are probably millionaires who are having roles thrown at them. As JB said, he doesn't want to be boxed in playing the same role for too long. As Michael Jai White says, he gets paid to play make-believe, and for some people, they don't want to get stuck playing the same role for too long. I know that's hard for fans of a certain genre to accept, but that's the nature of the beast. I mean, besides, the Star Wars fandom hasn't been particularly kind to the young actors in the sequel trilogy. People turned Rose Tico's Wikipedia page into some racist garbage and ran Kelly Marie Tran off of social media. People who had issues with Rey turned that energy on Daisy Ridley, which also made her leave social media. Everyone from the fandom menace to emotional Reylo girls came at John Boyega for everything from his character's portrayal to his personal feelings about the movies. And the difference from JB and his co-stars was that he wasn't afraid to clap back and humiliate his haters. I mean, I had personal acquaintances call for JB to be canceled over his response to Reylo fans. And then you got idiots like Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers sending JB rude messages on Twitter just to get a response that he could spin into some crap story that even the Drudge Report would not even post. At the end of the day, who wants to have to deal with all that negative energy? Some of you Star Wars fans will talk until you're blue in the face about something in Star Wars that hurt your feelings because it disagrees with your personal politics. But when JB played in an actual movie that dealt with crime and poverty in South Central LA, y'all weren't saying anything. When JB played in a movie that was about the Detroit riots and race relations in America, y'all weren't saying anything. If JB says something about Star Wars, then people who allegedly hate Star Wars crawl out of every crevice like roaches with something to say. So to the folks in Acolyte Squad who are worried about more Finn stories, look, for over 30 years, Lucasfilm Publishing was expanding on the stories of the characters in Star Wars. There were Lando Calrissian books, Han Solo books, Boba Fett books, Darth Maul books. If anyone had a story to tell about a character in the Star Wars movies and a whole lot of characters who were never in the movies, there was a book. Guess what? Nothing changed from how it used to be, except that the books coming out now are actually canon. Future stories might reference the people, places, and things in the books. A character who only had a single appearance in a cartoon could have a series of books that connects to other books that connect to the movies. Like how Zaire Leonis was in a single Star Wars Rebels episode, but the books that followed Zaire's personal mission to find his sister Dara connect to Cal Kestis in the Fallen Order video game. The Inquisitorius led by Darth Vader in the Darth Vader comic book series. The planet Arcanis and the Imperial Academy there on Arcanis. The Bloodline novel about Leia Organa Solo. The Aftermath series and Commandant Brendel Hux's feral children that became the first generation First Order stormtroopers, his son Armitage Hux, the Captain Phasma novel, and Brendel Hux's eventual murder at the hands of Phasma that was orchestrated by his son. And you know what? I actually did a video about this, but my friend Roberto Blake said I was too creative for the algorithm, so people didn't really see that video. My point that I'm getting at is these books set up all these backstories for characters that appeared in the sequel saga and in some projects that we might not even know about right now. It's also funny because if you understand the stuff going on in these books, then when some tabloid blogger says, the sequel saga is going to get a reboot, you know why they're talking a bunch of nonsense, because everything Lucasfilm has planned and produced since 2012 would have to be scrapped. That means no Star Wars Rebels, no Jedi Fallen Order, no Mandalorian, no Baby Yoda, no Clone Wars completed, or any of the spin-offs coming from the completions of the Clone Wars and some of the story arcs that will continue on The Mandalorian in Season 2. Star Wars has and will always be more than just the movies. And my personal opinion is that I'd like to see more of the story continue in other mediums. I would love for the books, streaming shows, and video games to eventually set up the movies so that it can be a big payoff for the loyal fans. My honest feelings are that with the state of the world, going to movie theaters is going to be a thing of the past soon. But this is along with my speculation about the future of Star Wars storytelling, and that is a topic for another video, so stay tuned for that one. My big takeaway for this video is really that for the time being, John Boyega is interested in doing other things with his career. He's moving into producing original stories, and it would not be hard to imagine that he'd like to direct something one day. Look, the more control you have over a project, the more say you get in how the story is told, presented, and sold. Notice that I said sold? Look, y'all, this is a business at the end of the day. Finn is a character owned by Lucasfilm. If John Boyega is writing, he gets to say what happens with a character he likes. If he's directing, he gets to decide how the character is presented. If he's producing, he gets to decide on a bunch of aspects related to the story. I wish nothing but the best for this young man in his career as an actor and a storyteller. Would I like to see him pick up a lightsaber and play Finn again after a lengthy break from Star Wars? I sure would. But for now, I don't really need that character's development to be on screen. I mean, what if Finn becomes a Jedi Master over the course of 30 years within the Star Wars universe? It would mean that another actor will have to play Finn unless we're willing to wait long enough for John Boyega to reach that age. I'm personally fine with a big time jump and an older actor stepping in to fill the role. I'm okay with characters being portrayed by more than one actor, but that's just me. But hey guys, before I go, if you missed what I said about Finn having his lightsaber scenes cut from The Force Awakens, I drop a link for you to check out that video. It's old, but now that the sequel saga's finished, it raises some interesting points about what the original direction was for Finn's character and where that might take his character in the future, most likely in a book series. But that's all I got for this video, so thanks for watching. Y'all keep on breathing, and may the force of others be with you, always.